to the dialogue this morning. My name is Prince Apollo, and every Saturday we come to look at the matters that made headline through the week. We internalize them, we put them into context. The panel is set. It's another good Saturday morning. Welcome to the show, and thanks to our viewers across the globe, you watching over the Salt Media app and on all other digital platforms. Welcome to the program. It is a time to look back at the week and reflect on those events that made headlines. In the studios, we have Dr. Gerard Wanzara, the Head of Research and Civic Engagement at Africa Leadership Institute, an NGO that does oversight on Parliament and other government bodies. But we also have Richard Baguma Tinkasimire, the communication specialist who also pushes the agenda of nutrition and other salient matters in this country. But
using beauty.
Using the beauty pageant, I have been reminded. And we would actually want to know how that plan is going. We also expect to be joined by Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimire, the Member of Parliament for Buyaga West. Welcome aboard. This is the dialogue. Let me introduce my guest this evening, Dr. Gerard Wanzara. Welcome to the program. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. It's always a pleasure discussing with you. I'm very happy. My people of Namisindwa. By then, this program has become very popular at home.
Really?
Yeah.
We are grateful. Thank you. I'm happy having you on the show. Richard, just speak to our viewers.
Good morning, our dear viewers. As always, I'm grateful to God, grateful to the viewers, grateful to you and management, giving us this opportunity to share our views. Now that he's talking about Namisindwa, I feel provoked to talk about Mkokonjero in Mbarara, my home too. I don't know whether they watch or not. I haven't done a survey, but that's where this is Uganda here. I live in Chisosonkore, to the Kabaka's Paris, but home is in Mkokonjero. Wow! So I say hello to whoever might be watching.
He provoked you on the matter of the pigeon tree.
Yeah, okay. One of the things we have been thinking about is now to have a handsomeness competition.
Okay.
Yeah, so while the beauty competition is going on, while it is established, all manner of beauty competitions, we started thinking, why don't we also promote the handsomeness competition for good causes like climate change?
Okay.
Yeah. So that,
good idea.
That might be in the cooking, and we will invite people like Apollo, who is a handsome man,
and who are
to come and compete. You know?
Okay. All right, viewers. That is how we started the show this morning. But we, like I said, it's another long week we had, both full of emotions. We buried two distinguished civil and great men of this country. General Tumwine was buried this week, and Yona Kanyomozi was also buried yesterday in Ntungamo. And you know, Kanyomozi has been eulogized as a patriot, a man who was steadfast in his politics, a UPC stalwart. It was the first time after very many years I heard people chanting UPC everywhere at the event that was graced by both sides from different political divide. Actually, contrary to what happened in Rwemikoma, Kazo district, the event in Ntungamo was graced by both politicians from the opposition and the ruling government praising Yona Kanyomozi. I think that is a big statement, perhaps.
He told me a story one time that, by the way, he was one of the members who were promoting UPM. And he told me they had a meeting. There was a group that thought that they should do away with Dr. Paul Milton Obote for the politics to settle. So he was one of those young voices in the UPC who held meetings to promote UPM. But he said what upset him was that the first meeting they had, President Museveni presided over, and then he said, I think what we are electing here is the vice chairman. I'm already the chairman. For him, we expected a democratic process to elect a UPM leader. So that day he switched, and that's how he went back to UPC. He thought he was not going to the right direction. That was leaving a dictatorship, going to a dictatorship. He told me that story. That's how he abandoned UPM, but he was a found member and went back to UPC.
A great man he was. A very, very big man he was.
And then that's how he became Minister for Cooperatives.
Well, we can also, for those who are interested in...
So you should also say that he was an old boy when that is school, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And President Museveni is a teacher.
President Museveni, yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And President Museveni, you realized him, I think, very well.
Yes.
Because you see the Bush group, I still call them, they are all the Bush group. These ones went to the Bush in Tanzania, the other ones went to the Bush in Ruwero. You see, I don't know whether Yona Kanyomozi wrote a book about his times and history. You see, that's the sadness for me I have, because Yona Kanyomozi knew so much.
Really.
Yes. I had one or two occasions to interact with him. Him and Professor Ephraim Kamuntu and Richard Kejuka. Yes. It's sad, and I was discussing with the good Batumshabe actually. I said, can we find some money where we would get these gentlemen and ladies, Miriam Atembe or General Narweso or whatever, and say, we come here, you just narrate your story.
Yeah, we write.
To the young ones, we record, we write, and you publish. Because they are going away with our history, very rich history. Things we can learn from. Imagine he was eulogized across the political divide.
Yeah, true.
And they have excellent lessons we can learn from that will build. Imagine the wealth of knowledge he had about the cooperative movement in this country. Wouldn't we benefit from that insight? So I think we need to find a way of documenting the experiences of these guys. We need to invest in this as a very deliberate effort, because I think as a country we are losing fine people. Of course, they're in the evening of their times, but they are going with the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge.
I think that some have done it. I have a book from Chilunda Chivejinja, Matthew Ruchaikire, Miriam Atembes have wrote several books. I think that's a good idea, that these people should document their experiences and we can easily learn from the experiences.
But also the active ones. I think you said the Honorable Tinkasimiri is coming. I think when he comes, we should put him to task.
To write.
That even the active ones should start writing.
Honorable Barnabas, you should also write.
Why not? You should also write.
Good.
They have experiences.
Well, we can now quickly go into the discussion, but we cannot forget to talk about the big stories. Across the borders, the former Soviet president Mikhail Gorbachev will be buried today, and Gorbachev is largely credited for the peaceful end of the Cold War in 1991. He will be buried at an event where Vladimir Putin will not be present for obvious reasons. Their ideologies somehow differ, and I think that's another matter I thought I should mention, because he's a Nobel Prize winner. He's looked at as an international figure in one or another for those who are interested in international politics. But across our border here, the Supreme Court battle somehow was concluded yesterday. The hearings in the case between Raila Odinga and William Ruto in Kenya on who will be the duly duly elected president, 5th president of Kenya, is still raging, I may say, but the hearings were concluded yesterday, and we now, all the Kenyans and everyone can wait for the ruling that will be delivered on Monday. I'll ask my panelists what they think the rulings were like, and possibly tell us what they expecting to come out of the Supreme Court on Monday. And of course, when we come back here, we'll be also looking at the high cost of education in this country. We know that on Monday, schools will be opening for the last term of the year, and around this time, the discussion is always around the hiking of school fees. The same debate was in Parliament this week with policymakers and members of Parliament urging government to come up with a clear policy on what on how the regulation of the cost of education in Uganda can be streamlined, and that will also take part of our discussion this morning. But of course, unfortunate reports of officials, government officials, being arrested for allegedly misappropriating PDM funds, public development model funds. This week, news came out that 11 people were arrested. 11 people, including the cows, district cows in Kabade and Kitugum, and many other officials have been arrested for allegedly swindling and misappropriating PDM funds. It's very unfortunate. One of those flagship programs of NRM this term. And you can ask whether this will affect the objective, which is majorly to uplift a big chunk of the poor into the money economy. I'll start, but let me first introduce our panelist, and Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimire, Member of Parliament for Buyaga West. Thank you for coming, and please first speak for our viewers before we kick off the show.
Thank you, our host, Apollo, and for inviting us once again. To my fellow dialogue members, Doctor and my namesake, thank you for holding the fort. I found when my namesake was submitting about the late Yona Kanyomoza, and was insisting that we are losing people, and they should, it would be good to document some of these, the information they have, including the younger ones, and insisted, because I had that also us, we should be able to write. I think he has a very big point.
Yeah.
When you look at knowledge is passed on from, particularly in an organized manner, from the old generation to the new generation. The new generation, who are very anxious and ready to learn, they normally also pick a lot of information. And the experience we have is that this head of ours, it has a limitation of how much it can keep.
Yeah.
But when you have recorded it down, it helps. It helps you. I want to give you an example. I and my colleagues, we went to Rwanda to study the government, managing the government fleet, government fleet of vehicles. That was in 2007. And we relatively got a very good model that we could adopt here. We made a study, compared it to ours. We discovered that this country was bleeding because of the government fleet that we were running. We made a proposal to government. They rejected our proposal, and it did not work. And up to today, we are still suffering. Somewhere, somehow, as time is going on, we are getting preoccupied with the other things. We thought we would save government, would make government save some money that it would invest in the people. But they insisted that no, for them they have enough money, they can still live that luxurious life and then go ahead and implement other programs. We left them and also went to the villages where they say they're transforming our people. We made an assessment. I told you I have visited every village in my constituency.
Wow.
Finding out in the 36 years that we have lived, have we had an impact on the ordinary person? Like on his housing conditions, on his capacity to have 3 meals in a day, on his capacity to pay fees for his child, to educate the children that he has produced. Does he have capacity? Even if government is there, does he have capacity to keep a child in school from primary 1 up to when he finishes his educational level? If the family members feel sick, do they have that capacity? But the situation is too bad. Over time, without losing the point, over time, I have lost the statistics I had on government fleet. If I had
Documented it.
documented it like in a book, I would just refer. Now, if I want to do anything, I have to go and look for that. Those reports I made in 2007. 2007. I told you my father died at 115 years. He had an interesting story about his life, about how they used to live, or what characterized the economic activities of the family. Of the family. When he talks about the coming in of the Muzungu, what he actually intercepted them from, stopped them from doing, which was actually very progressive, that by this time they would be very far.
Actually, would have taken interest in what actually, what could have facilitated him live longer to that advanced age of 150.
Yeah, all those things. We piece by piece, you can discover that you can write a very big book about the life of my father. About the life of my father, and I'm trying to get somebody who can run out an autobiography.
Yeah, true.
Autobiography, where he came from. Did I just drop by accident into leadership? The answer I discovered is that no, because many of my relatives who, as we were migrating along the way, because we belong to the Bantu group that came from South Africa, along the way, through Tanzania, through Congo, again entering into Rwanda, because I have traced a number of them, are in leadership positions.
Wow.
So it is not by mistake that I am.
So have you started off writing a book?
Yes. Somewhere, somehow, we lose critical information. As he said, I want to agree with him. If we had tapped in the knowledge of Yona Kanyomoza, who was the head of cooperatives, I want to tell you, this country would never be the same.
Wow.
Because you imagine the time they left the cooperative movement. For us, we were interested only in managing our politics. These so-called fighters, they abolished cooperatives simply they wanted to manage their politics. That cooperatives had UPCs, so they could not contain this country if cooperatives continued. But they would have had another way of doing it. Recruit your own members to stand in the cooperative and you run it.
But I think
the biggest problem,
they gave a shot at that. I remember.
No, even when they gave it a shot.
Banyankore Kweterana
was
managed by General Salim
people.
Saleh, I think.
We had a forced start. We come from the bush. Instead of doing things that are very progressive, we ran into sharing the spoils. The first thing that they did, they had to locate the houses where these big people they had just where these government houses were, and they shared them. They shared them one by one. I remember even getting a story that one of the big shots, who subsequently has also died, the former governor of Bank of Uganda, was forced to take a plot on is it on Nkrumah Road, Nasa Road? I think it is on both. There is it is on Nkrumah Road.
Forced.
It is on Nkrumah Road. This
Is the word.
Where there is the post office bank, post bank.
Post bank.
That plot belongs to him. They forced him to take it. They said, you also take this one. Stop that foolishness.
That is in Nkrumah.
Stop that foolishness. So that forced start. When they tried to enter into cooperatives, now they started looting the assets of cooperatives. And they made them fail.
Okay, I think that is a credit to people like Yona Kanyomozi,
Yes.
late now. And
I read a book that was written by Professor Nsabambi about civil society, participation of citizens in cooperatives. And he strongly analyzed how cooperatives had really transformed the ordinary person. And in this country, if you want to move forward into middle income status, you want us to move into a developed world, you must tap in that aspect of the ordinary person. But to say that you are going to invite the Muhindi to start industries, to be the one to develop this country, to develop the ordinary person, you are in an illusion.
in illusion.
In an illusion. Because the Muhindi who is coming here, he's interested in making sure that his family continues to remain in that status in their country. In their country. He will do all that it takes to make sure that he gets too much profit from here and too much wealth, to a level that some of them have started even using government institutions to grab land, like what is happening in Bunyoro.
Honorable, I request that we go into that discussion when we look at the PDM and its prospects, especially now that we are receiving reports that even government officials have started misappropriating the funds for this very, very important program. Thank you so much, Honorable, but I'm waiting, and my grandchildren will also be waiting to pick on your experience when in your book you are going to write when you were a rebel NRM and those experiences you had
And how to survive.
in the Supreme Court battles and all that.
No, we must, of course, people are, those who are particularly studying law, they are really enjoying the litigation that we went through.
Really?
Yes. You cannot talk about separation of powers without quoting that case, the famous case of where the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, had to stand on her feet and say, no, once a member of Parliament is elected, he remains, as far as I am concerned, on issues of taking seats. The seats belong to the Speaker. That's what our rules say. You sit here, we are doing those seats.
Okay, I think it will be an interesting piece to read about your experience with the Honorable Bana Sechikubo and Muhammad Nsereko together with Winfred.
I agree with you.
I'm thinking of titles, parliamentary rebellion. So the three prodigal sons.
The quartet of
the rebellious
NRM rebels.
We can choose a sensational headline to make sure that we sell very many copies.
I used to laugh when they sit in the parliament. Who are these? They are not independent. They are not opposition.
Viewers, let's go back and have some good time on the legal battles that were happening. 3 days, 3 grueling days of the Supreme Court hearings in Kenya. And Dr. Gerard, you have been keenly following these proceedings. I want you to tell us briefly what you think is the case and what you expect from the Supreme Court on Monday.
I cannot speculate on the outcome because you know, when you listen to these lawyers, they all sound very convincing. But I look at the issues that were formed to make a basis for the case. I think one of the issues was whether Chebukati is the commission.
Okay.
Was the commission. Because and then they were defining the law that a commission is composed of 7 people, and these 7 headed by a chairperson who must have qualifications of being a judge. And so the issue was that by Chebukati defying to listen to others, yet he had an extra day to declare the results, failed to have consensus, and decided to overrule the others. So the definition that does the commission, was it were the result declared by the IEBC commission or Chebukati?
Okay.
So I think that is a very strong point. Then the other point was whether the kits, the called KMS, whether the system was satisfied the qualities of standards, verification, security, and so they were trying to prove a point that
transmission
system, that there were other people, entries from one IP address that were continuing to access the system even days before the voting started. So I saw them displaying some form with the results, but dated 7th, and then before even the voting started,
which they claimed was fake and photoshopped.
And then the IBC, of course, was saying that these guys provided the technology, but they also had the access. And so you saw the lawyer Otieno raising the issue that if you're a plumber and then I make you to make my bathroom, do you remain in the bathroom? That even when I'm bathing, you're always there looking at me. So they say eventually the election was determined by Jose Camargo, who is a Venezuelan. Yes. Then there was also an issue of, I think the third issue, because I saw about 3 issues. So based on that, I cannot determine the outcome. For Uganda's case, we always
Which side do you think has an edge, according to the hearings and the presentations, the submissions they made?
I think they have a case.
Which side?
The petitioners.
The petitioners.
Have a case. But I saw that Ruto as a person, there is a weak case. He only appears in the court because he was a candidate. But there's no strong point to link Ruto to stealing elections. But they want to make that the IEBC failed to conduct an election according to their laws and according to the standards established in 2017.
What is your prediction and what do you expect on Monday?
You know, when you go to legal, I don't know whether miracles happen only in Uganda. We have a case in Kenya where an election was nullified. So anything can happen. If it was Uganda, I would say we still have a strong man syndrome and the outcome would be predictable. But in Kenya, it is possible to nullify the election.
It is possible.
It is possible.
Richard, it was 3 days full of surprises, humor and everything. But now we wait for the outcome, the verdict.
For me, it was the humor, actually. The guy singing
TikTok.
There was a what? A nursery rhyme. I think for me it was drama. And I don't think this case is legal. I think this case is largely political.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think this case is really legal. It's largely political. I don't even think that the outcome ultimately matters on who will be the leader of Kenya. I think Ruto is going to be the leader of Kenya. I think it will be, even if the outcome of this election was nullified, it was nullified before. This is not going to be the first time.
But you think Martha Koome can again do what David Malaga did in 2017?
If it happened, even if it was nullified, Ruto will still be the president of Kenya, of course, except if he dies. Raila is not going to change anything, any electoral. He's not going to have any better electoral outcomes. In fact, if you see, Ruto is already, moving us as a national leader, bringing groups already in, bringing people in already, meeting and agreeing on things going forward. So I think the political players in Kenya are being pragmatic and realistic and say, this has happened, we are moving on. But also, of course, in my view, the Raila team is also playing politics. They have to prove a point. They have to manage their expectations. They have to say, this is what we did and did. But it is also a negotiating tactic because you will, for the country to move on, you make concessions, even if you are the winning side. So everyone will take something from it. The thing for me is, if the IEBC did an absolutely shabby job, how come we are celebrating all the other levels of leadership and there's no problem? So if it did an entirely shabby job, how does that affect the others? The other thing for me is this transmission thing. Are there hard copies? For me, the thinkers in Merezu went to study law will tell me, but I think this can be settled on hard copies.
The hard copies are there.
Yeah, you can
the
dispute how it was transformed.
34As are
Let's
hard
go
copies.
to the hard copies. What do we have there? What do they say? How does it? And that's why, for me, the focus is on the IEBC. I think the focus is on the IEBC because that is the one you can damage. And then the poster boy for the IEBC is Chebukati, of course.
Okay.
It comes with the territory. Okay. You are going to pay a price. Somebody has to pay a price for settling the political question that there is. But for me, whatever the outcome is, I think President Ruto is President Ruto.
Ruto remains the fifth president.
We just have to go with that.
Do you think the outcome or the verdict, the court ruling of Monday, will somehow galvanize what we have actually conceived, that Kenya is becoming a very strong democracy in this region?
You see, every second in
whatever
politics,
comes out, whatever
every
it
second
is,
in politics,
the ruling is.
Every second in a political situation can count. In 1992, I think I was with Charles Rumshan and President Museveni in a tent in State House in Entebbe. And he said, you see, we were telling him a situation which we are trying to manage at Makerere. And he said, my children, politics is not like chemistry or physics, where you put in 2 grams of an element and 3
And expect the same result.
and you hit them at 14 degrees centigrade for 15 minutes. So that's not how politics works. Politics, a second in a political situation can. So we can't know where this can go. You see, you can have one incident, which is a genuine car crash with a boda in Nairobi. But then it is saying that the one who was driving is of this group and crashed the one of the other group deliberately. And you will see people burning tires or burning buildings. So for me, it's the tension. It's that tension, the keg that can burst into a fire anytime. And I think everyone who is a political player in Kenya, even the legal minds, I mean, they have to do political considerations. There is no judge who really never does the impact. So they have to look at this keg.
So the situation remains fragile, as it has been.
And very tense. Yes.
Okay, Honorable Barnabas, tell us what you think of what is going on across the board and what probably you expect to come out as a verdict on Monday.
I want to agree with the one doctor who said the petitioners made a good case.
Really?
IEBC tried to defend themselves, but at some point they would look very shabby. Where you are having a system that is supposed to run from is it 9th of August?
Polling day.
And it is running 2 days before. Where you are supposed to have controls, but you have people who are not even near Kenya accessing
the servers.
And the system. And then they ask you to inspect court issues an order that there should be an inspection of what transpired, and you can only limit the inspection to only one server, not to other critical servers, to know exactly what happened. Because those servers were actually recording what transpired, the deletings, the what, all those things. But I agree with my namesake that this is a political case. And in any case, this was politics. Because it was a contest, a political contest. Now it has gone sour. They have to run to the legal forum to try to be an umpire in political matters. Ordinarily, the lawyers, all those judges, will have to look at the law. Was really Chebukati the commission? Or the commission was of the 7 people? These 4 commissioners make the case very complicated.
Yeah, true.
Because when you admit, you have members admitting, even if you defend yourself, you know, one of the ways of securing a strong conviction on where you have people jointly charged of an offense, convince some people to accept, to confess. And when they make a confession and they are convicted on their own plea of guilty, it becomes very difficult. You who is still insisting on of plea of not guilty to win that particular case, it becomes very difficult.
So a divided commission is vulnerable.
That is the biggest problem. Whether the division was genuine or political, as long as you cannot have those 7 people taking a decision.
But what matters, Honorable, isn't it the data from polling stations, and isn't
of course
isn't
they
it
have
what
a
matters?
reason. They say the results which we wanted to Chebukati to declare was that no one got the majority vote. And these are the results that we have.
Exactly.
They presented them.
If it is true that the votes really presents a rerun, then Chebukati and others may not matter.
Where we are going to see actually a very big crisis is a situation of where they will cancel the results, then they order a rerun, and Odinga, as he has said, has criminalized Chebukati and any other officer who supported him. That means they have to, Chebukati has to be forced to resign.
And a new...
I saw the prayers. There was a lawyer who is like an Indian. He made strong, very, very strong prayers. 2 prayers. One against Ruto may not succeed, but the one against Chebukati, I am afraid you are likely to see that holding on Monday, delivering that relief.
But that happens in case of a rerun, in a situation of a rerun.
No. They will,
because Chebukati is ending is not coming back.
No, even but he still has a year. He still has a year, and according to the law, his tenure is highly protected.
Okay.
You can't unless he chooses. Unless he chooses, maybe being the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court can
Set a precedent.
And say
order.
Chebukati is consequently adjudged to retire in public interest.
Okay.
To retire in public interest, and that will be. That will be. But if he's not asked to step aside and he refuses, that matter ordinary according to the law is supposed to go to Parliament. And as we speak of today, Ruto has moved very fast to manage the politics in the House. He has now a bigger majority.
Yeah.
It may not be very big, but by the time we had an election, Odinga had more 4 member. they were 7 MPs, and above Ruto. Now it is the other way around.
Yeah.
It is Ruto who has the majority. So if it is that matter is taken on the floor of the House for his resignation, and they maintain that Chebukati has to run this election, you are going to see a stalemate in Kenya, and most likely a bigger crisis. His argument was that there should be negotiation. For me, if I was Ruto, I would not even have accepted.
Negotiation.
I would not even have accepted that we go to court. I would move very fast. You saw this, Uhuru may be retiring. You saw how he won. Raila Odinga to his side
but
very
a
fast.
handshake came later.
And all of a sudden, the years that he expected to have a sour term, he has had a very smooth term. He did everything that he wanted in the parliament, even in the country, because this main person, Odinga and his family have had a long history in the politics of Kenya. So today, to say you will dismiss them, simply you have defeated them.
Okay. Honorable,
That's where the crisis is.
you as a lawyer, judging from the submissions and everything, what is your prediction? What do you expect?
I have told you what makes the case too bad is the 4 commissioners.
Should we expect a rerun? Should we expect a recount? Should we expect an outright winner? Upholding Ruto's victory?
We expect a run, maybe at worst a recount, because the 4 commissioners, as they were joined as respondents, for them, they are asking for a recount. A recount. They may carry the day, because after all, the decision was supposed to be largely the reason why they are in court is because the commission declared Ruto. Declared Ruto, and the contest is that Chebukati single-handedly carried it out to this mission. And now if they want to incorporate the ideas of the 4 commissioners, and they are saying, give us just a retally.
Okay.
Retally these results. Then they can easily go for it. That is already another likely outcome. A rerun, a recount. I'm not saying an outright.
Upholding the victory of Ruto, Supreme Court, can it?
Because I have put my ears on the ground, save for the merits of the case that was argued in the Supreme Court. Behind the curtains, all the judges, if he has Ruto, he has on that panel of the 7 judges, he has there 1 judge. If we were to apply the politics of Uganda,
And that's the point. And Barnabas, Honorable Barnabas, this is the point I was making. That you see, this is a political case. By the way, if you see what is going on now, the 2 principals, the Uhuru
and Raila
and Ruto, no, Uhuru and Ruto, are making moves post the court case. All the moves they are making are not anymore on the court case. They are all preparing for post the court case. You see, if you see the appointments and transfers that Uhuru has done of senior civil servants, the very strategic civil servants, the ambassadors, the appointments they have done to commissions, to government MDs, the corporations. It's just that they are not making news because it is being buried by the other ones. And where their tenures, like you are saying, are protected. That the board of this is now changing. So even when you come as Ruto, their interests, the interests in the economy are getting entrenched and protected. That you'll spend the next 5 years with all these guys in positions and you're fighting. You'll be fighting. And that's what Uhuru protected himself against when he did the handshake. I don't think he measured properly the rebellion that Ruto would have. But he was certainly making it easy for himself. He did by having the handshake.
Okay.
He is now having a crisis now. If you see how much pressure he has been under to make a comment on this election outcome and the case, he has gone silent. But behind the curtains is where it's going. And when you see the panel of judges, if they are going to go politically,
Do you agree that it will be just a political decision, not based on...
no, it will be both.
Both.
You cannot do, in my view, a blatant political decision. You have to quote it with the legalese.
Unless you are Kada judges.
Even when you are.
Dr. Aweri is the one who said it. That if it was Uganda, we would certainly know
The decision
where
would
the
be known by
decision
now.
is.
Really?
Would have known.
Yeah, yeah.
But also when we get that
Have we reached to that level?
when we get that
that even
background
a
information,
Supreme Court decision is predicted even before
Apple.
it is declared.
If witnesses are not allowed to carry the forms, hard copy, and travel to Kampala and file them, they are arrested on the way and taken to jail. Where will you get the evidence to pin the, maybe His Excellency, the President? You know? The tension in the court itself. Eh? We have also seen that we
of course,
don't...
you know, in Kenya, somewhere, somehow, they allow the process to flow.
Exactly.
But in Uganda, they do not. These are warmongers. They are gorillas.
But-
they believe in putting you on
Gentlemen,
organ point and you deliver.
we are talking about the highest court in the land.
Yes, even here.
And you are insinuating that
But
you can
you read-
actually
you read-
predict
You read the
the
book
ruling.
of Professor Kanyihamba on the presidential petition, petition of 2001, where was it Dr. Kiza Besigye?
versus Yoweri Museveni
Yes.
and the Electoral Commission.
He said they wanted to overturn the election. The numbers were already up, but I think in the morning, a judge who had actually even shared with Professor Kanyihamba his opinion and his conclusion on the matter, the following morning he had another judgment.
Yeah, but
Gentlemen, our time,
but you
we're
see,
going for a break.
Where did that conclusion come from? Probably he read other authorities and he discovered.
Okay.
No. Of course,
Why do we assume that he didn't?
These were your colleagues. These were your colleagues
but you see-
who would open up to each other.
Richard.
Absolutely. And
He
you,
said
you read the new
No.
authorities in the night. You get new
My
information.
namesake here is because Professor is still alive.
Absolutely.
We would not want
The other
to.
judge is not.
No. He's not. But I would not expect Professor Kanyihamba to lie to the public.
Yeah.
That's your expectation.
Let me remind you this as
That's
we
an
go for a break.
expectation.
Let me remind you.
Why must it be sacrosanct?
Professor Kanyihamba,
Yes.
in his own words,
Yes. He's an angel.
in his own
Is
words,
he angelic?
received an apology from his
Why
colleague.
are we talking about the
And-
dead? Why
and
don't we get the? Why are we not respecting the
Richard,
dead?
Richard,
And their decisions.
Richard, as we go for a break, let me remind you
These
this.
were very good colleagues.
I received a copy of a letter this week. It was addressed to one of the justices of the Supreme Court, Chisache. You saw it, informing her that you will be losing your salary for around 11 months. You know, she dissented, the one who dissented in the recent Supreme Court ruling here. And I think you know now what I'm talking about. Viewers,
Me, I don't know.
viewers, we are going for a break, and when we return, I will share it.
Okay.
When we
Think a similar
return,
explanation.
viewers, we'll be
but
looking
you
at
also know what
the high
happens in
cost. We'll be talking about the high cost of education in this country, and like I said, it is a discussion that comes up every time school term is opening, and we'll be asking why. What has been done to make education affordable and accessible to almost everyone? We go for a break. It is the dialogue, and we're returning shortly. Welcome from the break. This is the dialogue. My name is Prince Apollo. I have in the studios Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimire, the Member of Parliament representing Buyaga West, and we have Richard Baguma, a communication specialist. We have Dr. Jira Duwerihe Wansara, the Head of Civic Engagement and Research at Africa Leadership Institute, looking at issues that made headline through the week, and as we prepare to go into another critical week where parents and guardians will be struggling, majority actually in this country will be struggling to take their children back to school. The discussion, I said, comes up every other beginning of the term, and the debate was in Parliament this week with schools, both private and government, hiking school fees on account that the skyrocketing prices of commodities and essential goods, as advancing it as their main reason for hiking fees. And some of the legislators have actually proposed that why can't government set a uniform standard, a uniform structure of fees, and that is another point for discussion. But of course, government is coming out to plead with schools, school administrators, not to hike fees. But again, when you look at on the other side, you think probably the administrators may have a reason, because if the cost of the cost of living increases, then automatically some things have also to be expensive in one or another. Let me start with Dr. Wanzara. Tell us what you think has been this, or why this debate is always coming up, but little is being done to alleviate this problem.
Yeah, Apple. A good education system should have certain principles. One, equity, that you don't divide society, okay? That even the children of the poor should have access to quality education. And then a good education system should also provide the necessary skills to skill people, that even if they drop out at a certain stage, they're able to do something. Now, what do we see? Because of the collapse in the standards of government schools, especially primary schools, we have seen a situation where people who can afford, or those who struggle to afford, want to take their children to a certain class so they can get better education. Now, there is this education that we are calling free. Of course, when you say high fees, I can also say that majority in the rural areas, the fees, especially at the primary level and secondary, there are schools everywhere in every corner, but are they studying? That's an issue. Definitely, if I was a policymaker, I would aim at improving, because world over, like me, the Chinese system where I studied for 5 years, I saw that government struggles to make their schools better. That people don't actually admire to take children to private schools. But this is not happening. So when you talk about the cost, surely the parents are struggling. But the parents, to be able to provide better education, they have to go deeper, including selling property, to go and make their children access better education. So, but what are we seeing in this? We are creating two Ugandas. A Uganda of those kids who walk to school every day, but they are not learning. At the end of the day, they disappear even before they finish PLOE. Last time we talked about statistics here. There are so many factors, because the schools near them are not providing what they want. So parents end up not seeing the value, children end up getting married along the way. While those who can afford their children are doing better, and they're the ones who will end up in better institutions and become better and maybe responsible citizens. So, but what are we planting in our society? We are planting a society where there is hatred. By the way, a person who is poor can be very angry because you are driving a good car. A person who is not informed, who is ignorant, will destroy something that you have invested in just because he feels deprived. So I would say,
Are we not seeing this? And do you see an effort to work it out and not create a divided society?
now what government will do, because we are in a free market, you are not going to tell these private schools that to set this kind of school fees. We all agree. I saw Uganda Bureau of Statistics agreeing that inflation is much higher than what was actually projected. It could be about 9%. So have the salaries increased? No. But are schools struggling with the costs? Yes. Because if you used to buy a kilo of beans at 2,000 shillings and now it's 4,000. So how do you expect the school to run and feed those children without adding something onto the school fees?
So it is a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword.
Baguma, are you not concerned that we are creating a divided society?
Are we creating it? Do we want to take credit rate for that? The divided society exists. What could be happening is that the divisions are deepening. But a divided society exists. That's how society is. The thing is we may be deepening. But also this thing that you are creating 2 layers, for me, I don't think that is. I think there are several layers.
The haves and have-nots.
There are also several layers. You see, it would be deceitful for me to sit here and start comparing my income levels with the ones of Honorable Tinkasimre, for example. I think that would not be very honest if I am a government assistant commissioner, whatever. Yeah. So those.
You don't believe in equity?
You are being diversionary, Apple. I am saying equity doesn't exist. You are saying I don't believe in it. You see, if something doesn't exist, whether you believe in it or not, because you believe in it, you don't say it exists. You admit that it doesn't exist, whether you believe in it or not. Okay. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it is not there. You see, there are categories. And let me give you an example. I have children whom I pay school fees for. Not my children. There are 2 who are in the same locality, in Kashaka, in Barara district. The government, the female government school, the girls' government school is, I pay double, about double. I pay slightly over 800,000.
In a government school?
For the girl, yes, for the government school, which is in that same locality. For the boy, he is in a private school in Kashaka. I pay 470,000.
That's relatively.
It's about half in the same locality. So I have not even understood why the private school is cheaper than the government school.
But that is an isolated case. I
No,
think.
it is not. It is not. Because I pay school fees for several children. The money you pay.
Boguma, we know it. That
the money you pay
that across this country, private schools charge higher fees than government schools across.
The money.
But he is telling you the live example.
But I'm saying it is just one note.
Generally.
No.
Yes.
No. Apollo, I am challenging you. We are going to step out of this program and we shall come back to the viewers. We are going to compare the schools around Ruvaga division, and we shall come back with the results. Yes. Because I'm giving you examples of my own experience.
Make your case. Make your case, Richard.
You see, the private schools you are talking about are the private. There are 2 categories of private. There is the private and what I call the private. Those are the ones Kampala parents is private.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's which one?
Chitende.
Oh, Chitende. Then St. Mary's is stupid.
Okay.
Isn't it public?
It is.
Have you compared the pay for the 2 St. Mary's? We are going to step out here. You see, and that's my challenge, is that you have these schools in the same locality, And the public school is even asking more than the private school. And that we are not talking about. And I have a challenge with that one. Why are we keeping quiet about that one? So we need to ask the questions. Why? Because you see, for me, I don't want to condemn the school management's blanket. Are they all evil? So that's one area.
But
they are the private where our children.
Our grievance is
where our children.
Our concern is that government should be the regulator, should step in.
I am coming.
Wait a minute.
I am coming in. You have stated that.
Put here an environment where even a child from a poor family can access quality education. That is our contention.
That is not your contention. Your contention is being deceitful, that it is cheaper in a public school everywhere than in private school. And I'm first refusing that.
Okay.
That is the first one. The second one, you see, no one is debating that an environment should be created, whether for a private or a public school, for quality education. I don't see a sane Ugandan or any other human being debating that.
But are we doing that? Are we pushing to see it happen?
We are not. Even in the private schools, we are not. No. We are not delivering quality education generally in this country, including at tertiary level. That is why we are crying when people come out. Even of elite universities, they can't do work. We are the ones who employ them. So you see, and it's a crisis of education. But let's go back to the other one that we are talking about. You see, and Parliament, you say, was talking about this. But Parliament talks about this every time we are going back. Children are going back to school. So we have to go beyond talking. What is it we are doing that is not ad hoc? Beyond talking. What are those studies we are doing that are informed, the doctor, these PhD people, that inform our arguments and positions? I was talking to a head teacher of a school near here. And he challenged me really, because I was talking about the same thing. Try not to increase school fees, because we are not getting increased income, but we are paying more on everything. I was telling him that when I was driving there, I was used to putting there a certain amount of money in the car. I got stuck in putting there that amount of money because I know how it would take me. But now the car rate comes back faster. The car rate for fuel empty. So I was telling him, now don't increase. And he said, sit down. Mr. Baguma, sit here with me. I was buying Porsche at 2,000. I'm now buying it at 3,600. And your child is eating the same amount of Porsche. And you want him to stay here for the same amount of days. What do you want me to do? Realistically. I could see his pain. So what we should be doing is we have a staccato, ad hoc approach to trying to do solutions to our education sector. I think that it will sink this country further. We are sinking already and stuck in the mud. I think secondly, and these statistics are there. When you allocate 1,300 shillings to a child, I'm giving an example, and only 300 reach the school
as a capitation grant,
the 1,000 dies along the way. I mean, really, how are we going to lift this thing out of the way? So yes, there is a crisis in our education system. There is lip service that we give to it, all of us, the political levels, the elite, and I think we need to transform. Otherwise, like I said the last time, we are going to have a revolution that is led by those.
But Richard, let me remind you that even if you want to say that we are all responsible for this crisis you're talking about, there is someone who is solely responsible for it. The Ministry of Education, the policymakers in that education, in that ministry, and the policymakers in that line. Cabinet.
So for me, if you reduce our education sector, education system, to just the Ministry of Education.
They are the policymakers. They are the implementers.
Then I have a crisis.
They are the implementers.
Our education system must go beyond just the ministry. So if they are fooling around, who is going to kick them in the butt? If we abandon
It is
them alone.
Barnabas Honorable.
Oh, it's a Barnabas who kicked them
Tell
off.
us, Honorable, what do you think the state of
He needs-
affairs?
he needs those very strong boots.
Honorable Barnabas Tikasime is the chairperson of the Parliamentary Forum on SDGs.
Hey, and education is
No, leaving no one behind.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, of course, even before I became the chairperson of Parliamentary Forum for Sustainable Development Goals, I believed in leaving no one behind, particularly the poor. That's why in the Parliament I am known as a pro-poor member of Parliament.
yeah.
Even the President knows that all my submissions will always challenge him when he promotes the rich people. You said who is to blame, but before we blame, what are the people asking? The cost of education has become too high. Is that a genuine demand? Yes, it is a genuine demand. But in the circumstances, those increasing the cost, are they wrong or right? The answer is that they are right in the circumstances. They are right because given the prices of things, they are right. Now, in the circumstances that you have such a crisis, who should carry the responsibility? The responsibility goes back to government. When you have a crisis on a critical service delivered to both the poor and the rich, you must caution as government the poor person. This is where I will give an example. That this country, whereas we have people who went to the bush and started fighting and said they had come to cause a fundamental change, this has not been a fundamental change. A fundamental change is actually in Rwanda.
Really?
Kagame fought and participated in that speech where President Museveni, this is not a mere change of guards, we have come to cause a fundamental change. He left and went to cause a fundamental change in his country. As we talk today, private schools in Rwanda, they are closing, not by force, because the quality of education offered, for you were talking about the quality. For us, now we are talking affordability.
Yeah, affordability.
It is not, in Rwanda, first of all, they made sure that people are studying free of charge in the government schools. Other than that, to the contrary, for us, we tried to copy them, or I don't know who copied the other.
We didn't, because
They did copy us.
yeah,
they copied
started
us.
First here.
They copied us, they went, studied free of charge. The struggle was quality of education. They started hiring teachers from here. The biggest number of our people, they actually even still in Rwanda teaching. They taught the Banyarwanda, and some of them returned. The Banyarwanda took on. If you see the quality of education offered in the public schools in Rwanda, is far higher. To a level as I see, as of now, recent reports indicate that most private schools are closing because they do not have pupils to teach. The pupils have run, all of them are in government schools because that's where they can get the best. They give children all necessary things, including laptops. Learners in this country, in UPE schools, they said parents should buy the books. You will find a child who will go to school for the entire term. He has no book. But in Rwanda, immediately you report to a public school, you sign up for a laptop. A laptop is how much?
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Here, a government cannot even buy a penny of 200. Siringi sibibili.
I'm looking at Richard, looking at you, and I imagine.
A book of 1,000, it cannot buy it.
Yeah, but you see,
Are we not ashamed, really?
even the laptops in Rwanda, they don't even buy them. they get the donations. The challenge is
They have a factory.
we can get
They have a factory that makes them.
we can get the donations here. But when you get the donations, they will don't get to the children.
But
They will go to the supermarkets. They will go to Nkrumah and Nasa
Richard,
Road.
are you sure all those laptops are donations?
No.
No. Of course, the government.
Okay.
Why are we not attracting such a donation?
Why?
Why? It's because maybe we are mismanaging this country.
The laptops will not get to the children. It is
We are mismanaging this country, and that's why many times me I don't. For you, you will castigate the first lady. Me, I will castigate the husband.
Oh.
Yes. Don't start being this president of ours whom we know. I told you he reads even Giso reports. Giso is the
Gombolora. Internal security
officer. He's too informed that you cannot tell me that he's not aware of the crisis that is happening in the Ministry of Education or in the entire education system, that we send children to school, they don't study. I told you, I made this comparison the other year. The children who sat for UPE, PROE in 2020, that in my district Kagadi, they were towards 40,000. The children who enrolled in P1, they were 40,000 children. Then by the time they are sitting for P7, that group,
that cohort,
it is only 12,000 that is sitting for PROE.
But your district is doing well. You see, if you compare nationally, your district is doing well.
For me, I represent Kagadi.
No, I agree with you.
I am giving you now statistics. Firstly, get this.
No,
the point that I want to make.
Your point, actually.
The point that I want to make. The point that I want to make is that a number of these children, now 28,000, 28,000, they have dropped out of school.
The
Is
percentage
there
is
a government
nationally.
program that is following these children?
Which one?
They are in the villages. When you go to the villages, because I have been at the village level to hold meetings, the biggest problem they complain about is theft.
But honorable, before
Theft of what?
honorable,
Theft of pigs, of saucepans, of goats,
Honorable. even before
my people are now viewing what I am submitting.
honorable,
They know that what I am saying is what is right.
Honorable.
Even the people in Busoga, even here, the biggest problem at a village is theft from those children who have ordinarily dropped out of
Before-
the education
Honorable,
system,
before-
who can't survive.
Honorable, before
with the NF.
before your
they have no
concern,
skill to survive,
Before
and
you-
they have to use their energy to break into your house and take the chicken at night, take the pig at night, where they can't take it, they slaughter, they leave you with it.
You are lucky that they are still taking at night. They are going to come during the day.
before honorable, you get concerned about those who drop out and what is government doing to follow them up. I think we should also be concerned first with why they actually drop out.
That is because when I asked them, because as I was holding those meetings, I would meet the children leaving school when others are there. You ask them, why have you left? That Hishomero, Batshava, Sept zebijezo. Nizingai, enkumi tano. You know, these days, children do not they don't write on the blackboard. They print their exams. So they ask the parents a contribution to print the exams of the children. 5,000 per child because there are 4 papers. Each child, or they ask 4,000, does not return because the parents at home, they don't have the 5,000. They don't have the 5,000.
Unfortunate.
And the government is they
remember.
are looking like this. 28,000 omujiji. Who should be in school, who should be studying, they are jumping out and you are not bothered. You are not bothered. You are pampering the muindi, you are with the Pinet, giving her our coffee free of charge. Eh? You know, sometimes this man is talking about the revolution. When will the revolution come when Ugandans don't get annoyed?
They are going to come to your house and take things only during the day. Now you're still lucky they are taking at night.
But Honorable,
Wait.
Honorable Barnabas.
But for you are lucky you have guns. Me, I don't have a gun.
No.
The only gun I have is my rosary.
You see, Barnabas.
Please, I pray that these people, you force them to drop their gun.
Let me say this. Allow me to say this, Apollo. You see, when we come to television, we start bastardizing sometimes these arguments. When you say you have guns, of course I don't have guns. But even if I had, I know.
Talking
I am
to a
using
group, to a certain group.
But even if I had,
To represent the other group.
I know, think a similar. But even if I had, you see, there were tens of thousands of guns which were held by certain people in 1980. Where are they? We have had some ministers say we have Maji. And then another, even more protected minister gets shot or official. So the guns can only protect you to a certain level. Beyond that, you can't be protected
True.
by guns. I said the other day that you see, Honorable Thinkasimere's district is doing well relatively when you compare with the national statistics. Because the national statistics, it's more than 1 million children who enter primary school, according to official statistics. It's less than 300,000
Who complete?
who exit at primary 7. You are talking about a 20% something who finish, who complete the first level, the lowest level of education. Where do the hundreds of thousands of Ugandans go? Every
Baguma,
year.
that is the crisis you talked about, and you alluded to that indeed this is a crisis. And your namesake says the people in charge are well aware of what is happening.
It is true.
And then we ask, Richard,
my
we
friend
may
said
ask,
the person in charge. You see, you keep on saying people.
in charge of this
It was
government.
very clear. There is a gentleman in charge. So why do we say people?
Okay,
There is a person in charge.
okay. The person in charge well knows the state of affairs as they are today. Why are they not working on it?
Why is he?
Why are they not bothered?
Why is he not working on it? How can I be in his head to answer that one?
You can
How can I
you
be
can
in his
suspect.
head? You see, Barnabas, you think he reads reports of the Gombora?
He does.
No, he reads the reports of the parish, the peace. That is how low it goes.
Even
That
in the
is-
village.
That is why the parish becomes a central level of focus now. That is why the parish development model. Because that is where the politics is played. And that's where security is played, and that's why. So you see, why don't we have intervention for education that is targeting parish level? I mean, so for me, I don't know what the person in charge thinks, but certainly the information about this crisis is well documented and well known. And we cannot pretend about the outcomes. The outcomes can only be delayed, but they will come.
Talk about the outcomes as we conclude this topic, because now it is everyone on his own, I think.
Yes.
And I imagine, and that is the question I was asking myself the whole of this week. We talk about universal rights. Education is a right. But why should the right be expensive and come at a high cost?
It's priced out of being a right.
It is only expensive in this country.
No, it is a universal right. But why should the right
It is only
be
very expensive
very expensive?
in this country that the citizens cannot afford, where government has decided that you fed for yourself, to whom it may concern. You are sending children to UPE schools. Do you actually even find out whether they study? Yes, the teachers make an effort, but does the system allow the child to keep in school?
Doctor, I remember now. I remember I was very young during Obote II regime. Our school, where I come from, Luborogota, Iriango, we used to get free books. I was not. I was.
That is the man they castigated that he was a bad manager for this country.
Free
Those
exercise
who-
books.
Yeah.
And textbooks. You can't
Free
go, man.
textbooks.
Yes, yes.
We would.
Now, you have mentioned textbooks. Let me tell you, children in UP schools have never, of this generation, have never seen a textbook.
They don't.
They don't. Now, when it comes to feeding, my auntie, I was watching my aunt, she was a headmistress somewhere in Kamuli. And she used to run the school on her shop because teachers have no food, children have no porridge. So she has to carry the posho because the capitation grants would take forever. It comes when the term is over. So
imagine.
to maintain the school, she has to pick posho every day and beans and take to school. She ended up saying, you know, am I the government, supporting the government school? That's how absurd the situation is. Now you mentioned the outcomes. They have already talked about the outcomes. A society where someone steals a car number plate to go and hide and begin calling you to send money. To send money, to direct you where he has hidden it. It is a desperate society. When it will go to, I was looking at the ratio, I think that was during your conference on SDGs. I looked at the ratio, sanitation facilities, COVID, wash hands, but only less than 5% of schools had water tanks at school. Children don't have water. Schools, people just go to the latrine, and these latrines are shared by teachers, male
students.
pupils and female pupils together. A teacher is squatting here, a student is squatting here.
Imagine.
That's how pathetic the situation is. But you can ask most of these directors, commissioners, even the cabinet, where did they go? They will tell you they went to Chamate Primary School, Butu, Busulani, where then they progressed and went to Nabumali.
Now they don't care.
Until they got good education. And I think there's a way that education was uniting the nation because children from different places would now come and converge from poor backgrounds and meet in Makerere. And then you get the best people in the civil service. So the outcomes for now are sad.
It now takes us
Why
back
are
to
we as
where
parents
our
not asserting
priorities
themselves?
are.
How come we as parents are, you know, I sit, because of paying for these different children, different schools, I go to parents teachers meeting. And they call you the one of Rugezi. They say now you are the one of Rugezi. You come into a parents teachers meeting and the head teacher has already mobilized who the chairperson should be. So if, by the way, they have a name, they don't know the person. Some parents already have a name of the person who should be, but they don't know what the person looked like. So the other time we went to one of the schools, a good school, here in the Greater Kampala, not in Kampala, but Greater Kampala. And the person was called Grace, the person the head teacher wanted. And many people thought because the person was Grace, then it was female. So the people were arguing that woman is very good. And Grace imagined to be a man. So you go in there, and when you start asserting that, but you see, we should also be examining this budget and this accountability by the head teacher. You get condemned and how did I say, but you see your child is going to be your child. So this societal giving up, I don't know what to call it, surrendering of even the little influence we would have is for me also extremely challenging. Let me tell you, I also have experience of the old
You're
world.
saying parents have surrendered their responsibilities of educating their children.
Yes, they don't intervene.
To
We are so
government.
intimidated that you see it is going to affect, and we don't. Maybe we have experiences and they do. But I've also seen old students, and I've been challenging old students. I've been part of these old boys things for both entire school and Barai school, mobilizing. I was saying, you see, we are focusing on contributing cement and money and doing things. But we are not focusing on accountability for them. We are not. When you start asking, they say now you again rugezigezi. A lot of the old boys have children who are ready to go to that school. So they are hedging. If my children doesn't go here, then I will ask for a place there. Or the children will look after, and they don't want to ask. We did in inter-school, when I was still mobilizer for the Old Boys Association. That was 2000 actually. I think it was Professor Kamuntu was our chair, then Kategaya and Devan. We mobilized and went to our president and went to President Kagame. And we said we want to put the school on, I called it the information superhighway. That was to build an infrastructure for the internet for these children to have access. We got funding. We built a double-storage structure and put their computers. Then, when I went back, I found the computers covered. Very nicely new computers. I said, why are they covered? They said two things. One, the dust is going to spoil them. But two, if you allow the children there, they are going to spoil them.
Oh. Now, Baguma, thank you.
I said, okay.
Thank you.
When I raised this issue, they said, no, but you see the image of the school, you see you're going to raise, oh, please.
Thank you so much, Baguma, for that mobilization. But I think it takes us back to what Doctor started off with. The people in Namisi, you are lucky that you happen to afford Ntare, but the people in Namisi.
No, I didn't afford it. It was my father. And I didn't choose who my father was. So yes, I agree. I didn't choose. This one keeps thinking about 115 years.
I'm imagining.
I would have loved to have still my father now.
I imagine.
But he went.
I imagine people in Namisindo Kagadio anywhere Isingiro who will be taking back their kids to school on Monday.
The people in Mbarara district, please. You see, before I went to Bukesa primary school, which is in Kampala State Council, I assumed the schools in Kampala State Council were very open. I went to Bukesa and they studied under trees. That is Kampala. This assumption that it is worse in one place and better in another.
But it goes back to affordability, Richard. Affordability. And that takes us back to our last segment of this discussion, PDM.
People are not taking responsibility.
Wait a minute.
These people are stealing the money.
Wait a minute. Then why come up with these programs like PDM? We have a big chunk of people who are poor, who cannot afford education.
Why are they being arrested every day? Because you put that money to steal it.
Really? then it is your opinion on
because
PDM.
Apple. I think I would like
Apollo.
We are now witnessing reports of officials who are being arrested, who are now in charge of PDM being arrested when the program is just starting. I think it is a big concern. We only have a few minutes, like 10 or 15 minutes. Use at least 4 minutes to give your view on, because this is about people getting out of poverty, people going to be able to afford this education we're talking about, people going to afford the basic in this harsh economy.
You know, when this program was being designed, it was supposed to replace Emyoga. Emyoga came during campaigns, and people got very excited. Some of them, their monies were sent during campaign, but they couldn't use it. But subsequently, they used the money, some ate it, and are being forced to return it. So now, government cooks another program. Before we see the results of Emyoga, women, youth, and the other things, before we see them, then another program comes up. That this one is largely to target the poor person. Target the poor person with 100 million every parish. A parish has, on average, 10 villages. Each village has, on average, particularly in my place, 200 households. Each household has a minimum of 7-8 people. Who are economically active. So when you talk even on, let's take the issue of the households, you're talking of 2,000 households in the parish. They are the ones you are giving the 100 million. And you are saying, share this for development, to develop yourself. 100 million in 2,000 households. If each was to take some money to go and develop, how much money you doctor who it can't go even beyond a million. It's just around. It is 50,000, something like that. Each household. Tell me what that money can do. The people also who are receiving this money, they know this money can't help them. Those who are managing it, they know it can't help them. But at the same time, they are also aware that at the center, there is a huge budget, particularly in the State House, because they know, particularly in the defense, particularly let's talk about the classified expenditure of 3 trillion. 3 trillion. The parish development model throughout the country is 1 trillion. But the classified expenditure budget, that one is run largely by the president. He's the one who knows. You don't ask him a voucher, a receipt, he spends it the way, plays the cards.
Honorable.
Now they are looking at that huge budget.
Honorable, you're
saying for us, they have sent us 100 million. But there is somebody who is managing 3 trillion.
Two issues.
We is not asking accountability.
2 issues.
So
honorable.
they decide to say, okay, since it is already on my account, let me eat it. Kambaruke.
So honorable, you're saying,
let me eat this money.
You're saying, on account of that small amount, it was bound to fail. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Secondly, those ones who are managing it, they are looking at the big budget this side, where no accountability is being asked. Why are they asking us accountability? They say,
okay. Richard.
No, you see, you cannot. For me, I don't want to believe that all cows have suddenly become evil, and all investigating agencies have suddenly become awake. And they go pick. It's like, you see, you have a traffic officer and their job is to be waving people, stop. So when will you move? There has to be a fundamentally flawed structural challenge to the PDM money. That all of a sudden, all cows now have become pariahs. And you just go picking them, pick, district people, pick. You are going to paralyze everything at the district, and a district is the delivery point. You are going to do that. Now, RDC, cow, production officer, treasurer, really, there has to be a problem. That is one. Secondly, if this money was structured to intervene to sustain productive households at that level, even 500,000 shillings at the household level may be able to do something. But like the head of statistics in this country came out and told us, yes, the head of UBOS came out and told us that, you see, we are supposed to choose households depending on a certain criteria. We didn't do any research, any study. So already it's fundamentally it is structured. But finally for me, Apollo, it is not different from Bonaba Gagawari. Gagawari in the first one, that 5 years was Bonaba Gagawari. When we went for the next campaign, it became Wealth for All. When it became Operation Wealth Creation. So it is not different. It is changing nomenclature.
Are you saying it is lip service?
We are we are campaigning. We are doing our campaign.
It's a campaign gimmick. It's a political.
Our campaign had to start early, so that by 2024-25, this money is there and we are ready to do our campaigns. So it's a continuation of what has been happening over the years. So
you sum it. You have summed it well. It is bound.
It is a continuation of what.
It's bound not to.
It is going to achieve its political objectives, but not its stated economic objectives.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, he mentioned the issue of statistics. One time I was here, I said, a blanket kind of intervention, not informed by statistics, is bound to fail. Because I gave you an example. The Bushenyi district chairperson said, I don't want PDM here because the program is supposed to target the 39% who are not
And
in
we
the
are
money
not
economy.
among
They're
those.
very poor. For us, we are not among. We don't have that group here. Then you go to areas where people are organized into milk production.
I think that
groups,
was
and
being honest.
he was honest. Then you have now areas like Busoga, informed by UBO statistics, like some areas in Busoga, northern Uganda, where poverty levels are above 60%. So you cannot have a same policy intervention of Bushenyi for you to replicate it where?
The one fit all.
Exactly. Then also the issue of planning. I remember last year, like a week or two to the end of the financial year, government hurriedly said, let's provide 17 million to each parish to kick-start the circles.
That was a political gimmick.
I went to Namisindwa, rural east, sampled. People were not even aware of PDM. There was no single circle that had been formed by anybody. So the monies were sent to the district accounts. Now, when officials saw this money, it was a good opportunity for them to share.
To pay councillors,
400 million, 500 million, they share it. And I know that is the money that because the 25 million for this quarter, I'm not sure whether it has gone. But the 17 million was eaten. And you're going to see more people. I saw the Kabale officials apologizing and saying they are going to return them to return the money. What's this about returning the money? We had a very big corruption scandal in the Ministry of Agriculture here, involving over 20 billion. And then they were being investigated by the IGG. Now they have also signed that they are returning the money. So I don't know whether we are serious. If you are returning the money, you have committed to have you have accepted to have committed an offense. I think they should not.
So you see poor planning in this program.
Planning problem.
You see politics.
Not informed by research. We just dream to achieve political scores.
Thank you so much, and we only have 3 minutes. Can all of us have a minute and we conclude the show? Doctor, first, conclude.
Yeah, I'm appealing to our policymakers on the issue of education. Let's get serious. Let's review the entire education sector, and we see what is working and what's not working. And here, it's not about the absence of resources. I've seen projects there, 150 million education partnership grants in the Ministry of Education. I don't know, but we need to review what is happening, because if we kill education, we are killing this country.
Thank you so much, Richard. One MP is proposing a universal structure of fees and access to education. Do you think that is possible?
No, it's not going to work.
Unworkable. We have different structures, we have different capacities. What we need to do is to stop the hemorrhage of the public money that goes to public education institutions. And we must do that forcefully. And we must do that now. It's absolutely urgent. The second issue we should be dealing with, which I think we should discuss here, is the question of land grabbing in this country.
Okay.
It's going to exacerbate the crisis of education and the crisis of land grabbing.
Thank you so much, Richard. Honorable, your parting shot.
For me, I think those managing this country, the citizens should come out strongly and say this is what we want. If free education...
Do citizens still have that strength, that courage?
They do, because this is inherent. It is your right. It is not given by the state. It's God-given. It's God-given. If this can work in Rwanda, a poor Rwanda, why not here, where we are relatively richer than Rwanda? That means those managing to put up this good education system, they are doing it badly. They are only enriching themselves. This is what he said, stop the hemorrhage. Who is going to stop the hemorrhage? They are the ones in charge.
Okay.
They are the ones in charge. He raised it.
Our time is up, Honorable.
When are you going to give us a topic and we talk about land grabbing?
I will definitely do that. And very
Because
soon.
we sound, let's talk about issues that affect our people.
Good.
We may not go political, but this is becoming too much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Barnabas Tika Simire, Member of Parliament for Puyaga West. Thank you so much, Richard Baguma. Thank you so much, Dr. Gerard Werihe Wanzara. And thank you so much, our viewers. We've talked about education today. We'll now find another topic. But he talked about Rwanda and education system in Rwanda. But Rwanda actually has started implementing the national insurance health policy.
Yes.
It is vibrant in Rwanda. That's what
we have a serious head of
ours
state in that place.
is here, it was passed, it is there.
We
It has
have
not been
a
implemented.
head of state who loves his people. Kagame loves the Banyarwanda. Here, President Museveni loves his family. That is the difference.
Viewers, we'll catch up with you next Saturday. My name is Prince Apollo. We'll be coming back next Saturday. The dialogue. Thank you so much. And we didn't have time to read your messages, but next time we'll do that. Good afternoon and have a splendid weekend ahead.